Hi guys, and welcome to Angling For You, and we're on the bank on a pleasure fishing session. Hallelujah, the sun is shining. It is t-shirt weather at the moment, and we are on Hosker's Pond at Candy Corner Fisheries, and I have not been here for a good year, and I certainly haven't fished this since we did the beetroot filming video. So today we're going to go for a few little approaches. Hopefully going to be testing Matto's with me, XI20. I've also got one of two margin poles that I'm going to film today, and hopefully we're going to have some fish, fingers crossed. We're going to do some bit of island fishing, hopefully a little long range margin fishing, and hopefully just have a good session. We've got some micro pellets which are soaked, ready to pot in. But what I'm going to do is I've got some of the mega bites. Now you've seen me use them before. There's a Scopex, a chocolate orange, a green sort of betaine, and a red krill. Today I'm going to use a Scopex. So I have got corn with me, and what we're going to do is I'm going to have some mixed separate, but then I'm also going to mix some with the micros when I pot them in. I've also got maggots with me as well, like you should always do in the colder months. We are sort of late, sort of mid March now, so it's starting to warm up a little bit. We've probably got about 14-15 degrees, so the water is still cold, but fingers crossed, you know, we'll have some fish. So with these megabites, they are really good, as I use it for a lot of pace fishing and stuff like that as well. But the thing that I like about them, if I can get my hand in and find it, of course, as you would imagine, it's right at the bottom. Inside there is a little glug mix with it. So this one obviously is the same flavour. It's a Method Scope mix, and this ground bait is based at a Method mix. It's called Carp Method mix, and what I do use it for, as well as that, is for obviously using for the paste. It makes great paste. But if you, as today, we're going to mix it through and just have it through for a little bit of flavour and texture within the micros, low feed. This bad boy you can put in with your micros, or you can use it with your water in conjunction to make up your ground bait, and that's what we're going to do. We're not going to mix loads of it. We don't. It's still winter fishing. We don't need absolutely oceans of it. So we've gone there, probably about a fourth of a bag, and what are they? A couple of kilo, I think, bags. 1400 gram, so just a kilo and a half worth a ground bait, and it is amazing stuff. It is beautiful texture, and it smells so sweet. Does that? It smells like toffee. And what I'm going to do first is add in some of this reactor mix. Now obviously I'm using quite a large bowl. We don't really need such a large bowl for the size of mix that we're doing, but you know, it's an easy washout bowl, and I do like it. Now I'm going to go probably about half a bottle there, because I really do want the sweetness of flavour. There's no one else fishing on the pond apart from me and Matt, and I do want to try and bring those fish in. And I'm just mixing that in first, just before we add any water. And I'm not going to go wild with the water, just a little bit at a time. And we will come back to it, because obviously it's going to absorb that water, and we're not going to riddle it today. If I was using a Method, I would riddle it, and if you don't know what a riddle is, it's just a fine sieve that you pass it through, and it makes all the particles even and makes it lovely and fluffy. Now what I'm going to be doing with that is, if you're in a Method mix, you want that nice consistency for when you press it on the Method. With this, it's going in a pot, so I'm not too fussed about having a slightly heavier particles that sort of mix in. So for me, that's absolutely fine for where I'm putting it in. So you see the mixtures, it's coming together, but it's still quite dry, and when we leave it for sort of 10 minutes while we get the rigs done, it's going to absorb that water, and we'll show you what that looks like when we come back to it. So you can see the mixture's coming together now. It's overly wetted. See, it comes into a ball, and it's a bit more cookie doughy to try and break together. That's the consistency we're looking for now. I don't want it slurry or anything like that. That's going to sit there for 10-15 minutes. Just pop the lid back over, leave that out the way, and we'll come back to you in a bit of magic of editing, and we'll add if we need any more water, and see what the product's like, and then hopefully we'll catch some fish. Right guys, and as if by magic, we've got the mix here. Now I tend to rub it between my hands. It's a little bit like crumble mix, but it's got a bit clumpy, and this is where you could run it through a riddle. And I'm not saying you can, I'm just saying for what I'm doing today, I'm not that fussed because I'm mixing it in with the micras. Best practice would probably say, yeah, so you get an even distribution of the water. So if you want to do it. If you don't, but I would say if you're method fishing, definitely do it. I'm just gonna add a touch more water to this. I want it to sink, but I don't need it to be like summer ground bait where it's, you know, it's super over wetted. I'm going to be mixing with damp pellets, so it'll take on a little bit more moisture. And again, just can rub it through your hands, or you can pass it through the riddle. I've got a ball. It comes to a ball easy, and I can just rub it gently, and it breaks up into a nice crumb. And that's really the easiness of what I'm doing. I've gone for Scopex today because I'm fishing corn. Like I said, I've got some hookable pellets, and we'll go through these when we're on the box. And I've got some maggots. It's just a nice sweet flavour this time of year, and fingers crossed it'll put us on some fish. So let's get in the box, and we'll get into the action hopefully, and then we'll get through the rigs, and we'll get back into the funness of doing these videos of pleasure fishing sessions, which I know a lot of you have been chomping at the bit for me to get back to. Me too. 2022, let's smash it, let's get to it. And we'll go through it all in detail, but we're going to start with a single corn, and we'll go through the rig, the elastics, the line, and all of that. We're got a little bit of a crow situation going on in the background, so I do apologise if you're hearing a lot of chirping, but got about 50 crow nests, that look of it, in those trees behind us. So we just fed some micras and some of the megabytes yellow Scopex. We've put a little bit of corn in it. Just going to tap in a couple more micras as we go in, and I'm just fishing on the level out of the shelf. I'm not going right up to the island as it's quite shallow, and I'm just fishing on the bottom of the shelf. I've got a little touch of bristle grease, and again we'll explain that later on the tip of the float, so it's dotted right down. And effectively bristle grease is a little bit like Vaseline and works a similar way to Vaseline. And what it is it works at like that little resistance to water, and you can just slightly overshot your float, so it just breaks the surface, and you put a touch of bristle grease on the tip and it'll hold it in the top tension. It just means that you can fish delicate, and if anything touches it, it's going to register really quickly. And it's a little bit easier when, like today, where you've got calmer conditions, and you know it's a lot easier to dot your float down. And we've got some water tension movement, and I'm hoping that that's some fish coming in. Like I say, we're going to start with a single corn. We've got maggots, we've got some red and natural soft hookable pellets, and we'll just see where we go. And I've not chose to fish it up in this shallow water just because the water temperature is still cold. I've just thought about going slightly lower down on the shelf and just see how we go. Fingers crossed we'll have a fish, or several fish. That'd be nice. Another fish. Someone's going hard for that corner. He's going very hard for that corner. Here's this one. Nice to turn him round. first run they definitely go. He went hard for that corner. This nice little hybrid's done its job. I don't think it's any bigger than the other two that we've had. Yeah, looks like the same size. I must say, this new Aventus handle, I mean, I love the tournament, best handle I've ever had, but then I picked it up side by side this Aventus, and it's just one of those, isn't it? It's new technology as it moves on, and it just superb bit of kit, honestly, so strong. And Matt's proper messing about with what he's got on the side of us. He's just hooked again in the side lip. Another bar of gold. Let's get him back in. Right, we'll get back out there and see. Right guys, into the first fish. And this fish straight away is taking a triple red mag, and I'm going to keep it out to the left, so I do not want it to go around that island. That is what it's trying to do already. And that's what I would have assumed that they would do, so we would take it out, get it out of that region so I can get back into a more safer space. And it is nice for the old elastic to come out, I'll tell you that for sure. Using this nice little hybrid elastic. And I tried corn to start off with, and just a couple of little taps. I've gone for 3 dead reds, which is a staple for cold winter carp fishing. And a couple of minute or two, and that's shot away. First fish, nothing massive, probably 2 or 3 pound, I would have thought. Yeah, it's like it, but putting up a good account of itself, that is for sure. Oh, a lovely little fish. Start the day. It's like a little common. Beautiful. And he's in the nets. And we're off the mark. Lovely little fish, like I said, around 2 or 3 pound. Perfect condition, as they always are at Candy Corner. Jamie's really looks after the fish here. That 3 red maggots is in the corner of the mouth, and he's going to be a little bit giddy, so we'll just take his time with him. Easy, little man. I'll try and hold him this way for you. There we go, a lovely bar of gold in the sunshine. What a great little start. Let's get him back in the net and get back into that water. So like I said on that one, it was 3 dead reds. Just going to whack my hands. And that didn't take a lot of time until that slid away. I'll check on those. And to be honest, that's hooked it so well. I've only really, I'm going to change them anyway, 2 of them. But it took that lovely Lovely bite. Nice and confident. I'm not going to put any more ground bait or anything like that, and I'm just going to put in a couple more micros, but nothing mad. Just feel his way into the session. Just a little bit. And that elastic probably felt about the right size for what I needed there. I've only got an 011 bottom on, so we're not going super crazy. Just tap those pellets in. Just drop that. Always take your time, and if you've got a certain point you want to fish, just take your time, lower your bait in. Just lower that float just as I want it. Sat just at the top of the water. Nice little back shot on to stop it from drifting. And what I mean by a back shot is it's a shot between the line between the back of your float and the tip of your pole. So you want it roughly around 2 inches. A little touch there again. 2 inches away. And that's about perfect. And what that does is sink the line behind the float and stops the drag and with the toe. Lovely condition, that carp. In straight away again. It's like maggot is what they want. Straight away there on that. Like I said, I'm playing them very gingerly because they will want to go towards the corner of that island, and I definitely don't want to be chasing out of my section. We've got Matt fishing at the side of me, Mr. Jackson, and that's another one on triple dead red, Matthew. Triple dead red is that one, and that went straight away again as soon as it went in. So, and that's another thing with pleasure fishing, and what's really important to me is Matt's there fishing the side of me. Tell him what you're catching on, because at the end of the day you're pleasure fishing together. You want everybody to catch, and you know that's what it's about. So it's like another nice little carp. Beautiful fish. Almost looks like the same fish. It's there's loads of these in here, and they're such good fighting fish. And again, perfectly hooked, just in the corner of the mouth. Just a beautiful looking fish. Just little bars of gold. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what better sport in the winter? I mean, absolutely superb. Let's get it back in and see if we can have some more. And he's away. What we'll do is I'm going to put a little pot more of bait out there, and then we'll have a little talk through the bait, and we'll talk through the pellets and the rig, and hopefully get back onto them. Right guys, so let's have a look at the rig. Now the kit itself is an ultra control kit, which is one of the sort of more premium kits. It's a max 18, so it takes up to 18 elastic, and it's got around 10 to 12 hybrid elastic in there. The rig itself is an 014, and it's the Matrix power line that they've got, and it's the power micron is just stiffer, and I just love it for most of my fishing. And that's got down to a small 6-inch hook link of 011 down to a 16s hook. Now the hook itself is in my little pack of dreams from the Preston range, where they have the little box of dreams, which I love for winter fishing. If I can open it with one hand, he says. Here we go. So the one I've got is an SFLB in a 16 to an 011. That is what I'm using today, and I've gone with a 16s because I've expected to and aimed to catch carp, which we are doing, and it's just a slightly stronger gauge and a slightly bigger, so I can get 3 dead reds on it. I've got a 1 dropper just next to the uplink, and I've got another number 9 dropper down the line, and the rest are bulked up towards the float, and there's 3 number 8s towards the bottom of the float, and that's where the main shotting is for this float, and it's a 0.25 gram Guru pellet float, which is a lovely little float, stable, it's nice for fishing, for carp, got a visible bristle, it's dotted down like I said, and we've got a little bit of bristle grease just on the top, which I'll show you. A little bit of Preston bristle grease, and that just keeps the tip of the float just there, ready. Nice little matrix toss pot on the top, and we've got a number 9 around 6 inches away from the back of the float as a back shot, just to drop the tow. We're not getting much tow, but there's a bit of wind coming over. I've got quite a long lash, to be fair. I've got around 18 inches of lash, and that's just allowing me to hold it back, and when I hook him I can turn him round, just in case a little bit of wind blowing. But because the float's dotted so down, we're seeing those bites develop really quickly, which allows you to hook them quickly, and all's good. Now what we're going to do is get back out there. We're going to get some maggots back on, and this uplink just thinks itself out. The joys of light line. And we'll get back out there, and we'll get 3 red maggots on, and we'll rock and roll. Now the other baits that I've got, one is jelly pellets red, which are a Vandenine. The other is a jelly pellets red, a jelly pellets natural Vandenine, and they're both sort of 6 mil in size, which is fine for this time of year. And again, we've got the good old corn, got the Fishery micro pellets is what we've got there, and we've obviously got the ground bait that you've seen us set up, so we're sort of good to go. But like, it's just proving why you always bring maggots. And just before we do get into getting back out there, you can see I've got no Dacron, and this is called a crow's foot, where you tie a loop and snip it off, and that's what I'm using instead of a Dacron. I've got my bead to it, and sometimes I like to fish a more direct route. I usually do it with bigger elastics, but in this case I've got it on with this one as well, and it might be the fact that I just didn't have any at the time, any Dacrons, but it is a direct way of fishing. But do remember, if you get a good old hammer in, you do need to cut that elastic back and tie a new one, otherwise it will pull through your elastic after a little bit of time. So let's get back on, let's see if we can have some more fish and put some more in the net. Right guys, the maggots are on, 3 fish in. As soon as we've gone to these dead reds, which is a trusty favourite of mine, I'll be honest. I use them quite on a few venues, and a lot on Lindomer in winter, and you know, they're just a deadly thing to have on. Now what I will also say to you, and you don't know if you'll ever see it on a camera, so when I'm fishing like this, it's good to have on your dolly butt. Now I'm not fishing any further out, and it is slightly behind me, but it's just giving me that strength to strike on, just strengthening up that end section. So if we're striking carp out there and I'm leaning on them, I've got that dolly butt to take up some of that strain. You've got to be careful not to get giddy and overfeed. Oh, that went away then. And not overfeed is still cold weather. You know, you can, yeah, if they're there, you can pummel it in when you're in the summer months. We're only just into spring, although it's sunny. We've just got a gauge. I'm sprinkling in a few micros every time we go in, and I've just had those three fish, and I've just potted in a small a third of an handful of micros and a small little ball of ground bait, just to keep that bait on the bottom, because you know, if there's a few fish on a row there, and that size fish will not take long to decimate what we put in to start, and that were just 2 pots, and they're only small, the smaller pots, and they definitely not take a long time at all to decimate that. There's nothing there with a ground bait, it's just attraction. And same with the micros, they're pretty minimal in regards to what they're getting to eat. Just seeing Jackson out the corner of my eye, foul looking fish. He's already had one in the back fin, and now he's got one a little scale on there, so I reckon he's a little bit too shallow, and that's why I'm fishing down on the slope, to let fish swim down the slope and pick the bait up, or swim up the slope, and mine's obviously on the down slope at the bottom, trying to minimalise the foul lookers. And it's not deep. I mean, we're only like sort of 2.5 touching 3 foot deep, so it's not as if it's super deep either. So, and to be on the pond, it is not deep. It's probably maximum of 4 foot, to be honest, in the middle, if I'm honest. And sometimes, I don't know how rapid it is going to be today. It is winter fishing, well, technically spring fishing now. The carp will only be starting to move around a little bit, so I'm not entirely sure how we'll catch them throughout the day. 3 quick fish together is always good, but it might be that we catch them sort of on a steady pace. Who knows? That's why it's essential. I just felt like those 3 fish being there, that bait would have took a hit, and I don't want to overfeed them, but I do want to make sure that they've got something there to hold them. There we go again. You see what, straight away you got to try and turn and lean on them for that first hit, because every time they're going to go try and go for that island and that corner, and we don't want that. Now I'm fine, he's going over to the corner, I'm happy with that, he can go over there all day, but I do not want him near that corner of the island, because obviously if he goes round it, we're going to have to step up and start walking round. And this first run, even on these smaller fish, this first hit, this is where you've just got to hold a little bit. We've only got 0.11 bottom on as well, remember, so it's got to be a balanced setup. And that first hit, we've got to put some control on them. That's it, we've got him back round where we want him now. This is why you want supple elastic on, but you don't want soft elastic on, because they will have you. Like when you're fishing all the rest of these pegs, it's a little easier because you've obviously got the bank to fish on, and you know they're only going to go left and right. But these end pegs, good to produce, but can be dangerous for losing them. And you see, these are not big fish. They're only 2 to 3 pound, but they're powerful when they first go off. Hooked beautifully again in that top lip, and they're all a nice little stamper fish. All a nice stamper fish. And again, perfectly hooked. That top lip. Just sat in that bit of muscle. A little bit fiddly to get out. That's the problem when you got small hooks. Can be really fiddly. There we go. And again, this one a little bit smaller, but still plenty of power. Beautiful in the sunshine, absolutely stunning. And just, what can you ask for? What more can you ask for on a nice pleasure day's fishing? Good quality fishing. Lovely bloke is Jamie as well. If you ever come to to Candy Corner, which I do highly recommend. He's a lovely bloke, always there to help you. And this is obviously only one of 3 of the ponds that they have on site. Now this one is the I want to say it's the smallest of the 2. I think the one in the corner is the smallest, but that's really aimed at beginning fishing. That's sort of silverfish kind of fishing. The daddy is behind us, which is AJ's, which is a lovely pond, and the fish go huge in there, and they are so strong and powerful. It's unbelievable, and you've got to be geared up if you're going to go on that one. And then this one, obviously, which has got a range of carp, probably up into early double figure fish. Most of them are around the stamp that we're catching now. And yeah, it's predominantly carp. There is some silvers in here, but predominantly carp. And it's just a great venue for fish. They do matches on here. They do pleasure on this one as well, as do they on AJ's as well. The one in the far corner is just pleasure fishing, and it's definitely worth a visit. And it's certainly, as the months get warmer, there's some big fish to be had, I'm telling you. There's no fish places I fish that I've as had fighting carp as them on that AJ's behind us. They are animals. And you know, if you want just a little carp session where you're just catching sort of small to medium carp, then this one's great. And you just want to fish the pole, you can fish the waggler, you could fish an underarmed feeder if you wanted to do. But if you want just that nice session, it's great at this time of year as well. And a nice little snake lake like this little with an island, about 20 pegs, perfect. Definitely worth visiting. I mean, you know, I've not been fishing long. Four carp on the bank. Looks like it's going to be potentially a 5th very, very soon. We're doing some little taps on the float, and you know, what more can you ask? Especially at this time of year. We are on a lovely day today, though. It is lovely and sunny, but it was cold early morning. There was frost on the cow. Into another fish. Here we go. And here he goes. Turn on the afterburners. Once I realise they're up. And he's doing acrobatics, and he's going to be off camera, is that one? But he just did a triple somersault, which was quite amusing. I'll tell you one thing that you must do though when you get these fish on. You've just got to make sure that you're watching where that elastic's going. Still going out there. Still going hard for that corner. We'll get him, take an extra section off so we can get him on top kit. Trying to go all under these underhanging bankings. And they're just great fun. And a good fish to pull hard. What more can you ask for in spring? And this one even did a double somersault. Unfortunately, probably out of camera shot, but it looked great. It's typical bream, little bream somersault, that one. And while they're pulling like this, just keep the pole low. Let them time themselves out. You can see it's still got its head down. And you can feel it. When you feel some come back on the line, then you can just pull a little bit of elastic out. Still got his head down. Trying to burrow in there. He might be tail hooked, this one, you know. Might be tail hooked. He is tail hooked. He's either tail hooked or he's lassoed himself when he jumped out of water. Either way, we're having him in net. Put this down a few seconds while we get him under control. Nice to feel the arm ache. I've not felt that for a while, even if he is lassoed. Nearly there. There we go. So what I did there with he's actually a bit bigger than the others. What I did there is I didn't try and bring the fish up to net. I put the net up when the fish come back towards me. I put the net in front of it and let it swim back down into it, and that way it was safer for the fish. The hook's popped off, and that shows you there. It wasn't actually foul hooked. It was lassoed. I saw that come straight out the lip. So what he's done is he's jumped out the water and he's rolled over the line when he's landed. And he's lassoed himself. He's a lovely fish, actually. Probably the best one of the day so far. Look at that. Absolutely pristine. That is a pristine looking carp, that. Catch them all day long. Let's get him back in. Lovely. Right. What a lovely fish that was. And it just shows just a little bit of sensitive feeding and spending the time to plumb the depths up right and look for those features, and it can put you right where the fish are. And at least he won't foul hooked. Not ideal lassoing him and dragging him in by his tail, but especially when you're fishing a match, it only matters when they're on the bank, so you know it don't matter. Once you get them in and you keep them as safe as you can, then you know you're sorted. Right, so I've got 3 reds on again, and we're going to put a few more of those micros back into the top, and let's see if we can have one to end a very successful spring fishing for carp video. That's a great, lovely little introduction back to the pleasure session for 2022. So especially when you're fishing to features or to certain areas, this is where you got to take the time. I know that on my elbow on the line is the distance that I'm out. I know that if I can put in and I lay my rig in just off, there's a piece of bush in the water on the edge of that bush, if I lay that in, that is just on the bottom of the slope, and it's those little things that get you the bites. Wind just picking up a little bit just off the back of us. Not my ideal friend, because it was really warm when that wind's not on, I'll be honest. But you know, when in spring. A little touch on the float there. Only a tiny little touch, that. And with that float being dotted down, you're seeing them early, and that's why we're hooking them in the mouth, in just the corner of the mouth, because they're just sucking the bait in and we're seeing them straight away. It's also allowing us to get a turn on them and try and steer them away from that island. Oof, that flew under, did that? That flew under. Still fish down there, which is great. And keep looking at where your marker is. If it drifts out of position, the wind picks up, Don't be afraid to just lift and drop and just pull it back into position. Straight away, guys. Back out there, straight away. So we can get this one in to finish the video. Did a little bit of a different turn this one. Instead of going out that way, it's come out this way, which is a nice change. And when they're going on these runs, just keep the pole low. This elastic will reach from this top kit to this island, no problems through. No point in having all your pole out there. And just be aware in which way the fish are swimming, and that allows you to turn your pole over to keep the tension. There's no point if the fish is swimming this way and I've got my pole over that way. It makes no sense. Now it's coming closer to this way, I can keep this angle on it. If it starts to move out that way, I can turn the pole over. So now as it's going out there, we can put different direction on it, and that keeps it within that zone of where we want it to be. I think he might have done me floating when he went through that bush. Hopefully not. Oh no, he's not. And don't be afraid if they do pull hard to just let a bit of elastic out, but just remember, if you are fishing the same rig as what I am doing is 011 today, and it's all about balance gear, and you've seen it's took a good stick and that 011's just held its ground because we've got the balanced elastics. You see now, if it's going to, look, you see now, if it's going to go in line with a pole, I do not want it to be in line with a pole, so I want to put the angle on it. You never point your pole directly at the fish. It'll pull the elastic out too easily, but also you've got a chance of it pulling, if you're not on your top kit, pulling kits off and all sorts of horrible stuff. You always want to keep that angle on it. And putting a good account of itself. This one's not tied itself out round that corner, so it's done all that in front of us this time. Still feels around similar sizes to what we've been catching. Saw a little flash of it then, but and I tell you, whatever he does to them at Candy Corner, they all fight hard, even in winter or at spring. Yeah, it's nearly ready now. This might actually be a mirror, first mirror of the day, I don't know. It's all a little bit red on his tail, and you tend to do have a little bit of mirror action when they've got red, but I'm just one of them fit commons. They are bloody fit. Get the landing net ready when we've seen it. Took a little gulp of oxygen. And he was in the net. And now he's in the net. Thought he was foul hooked at first, but not to be. He was rolled over. Hooked right on the snappers. Perfectly hooked, that is. Perfectly hooked. He's got a little bit of a deformity, this one, on his tail. But he's an hefty boy. It's a nice one to finish on. Might be biggest of the day. Little kink tail, but he's didn't do anything to slow him down. That's for sure. What a lovely fish to end the session on. Beautiful. Well, we're not doing well with this kit safe, boys and girls. We are bashing it over, but I'm trying out a new setup and I'm getting used to where stuff are. But what a fantastic session. We're going to continue on, of course, hopefully to get some more filming done for the day, but just superb fishing. Candy Corner Fisheries, what can I say? Every time I come back here, I leave every single time thinking, what a venue. Get yourself down, it's seeking, it's already starting to fish. Well, come now while they're getting ready to spawn, and hit them early, have that time catching them. Get yourself rung up to Jamie and get yourself booked in and get yourself on here and come and enjoy the fruits of fantastic labour that Jamie puts into these fish. Rears a lot of fish himself as well, and they're just superb hard fighting fish. Hopefully just that this little method and the way that we're fed shows you something new or helps you in identifying where to go, because most people would go straight to an island and fish close to that island, and it may be too shallow, and what we've done there is find the slope, and where it flats out we're about 2 foot off the island and we're catching in a really lovely steady pace and all decent stamp of fish. So thank you very much for watching. If you want to join us on the playlist on YouTube and see any of the other of our videos, our feature videos, our tackle reviews, then do jump on there and have a look. If you want to join in the Facebook group at Angling For You, it's a great members society, nearly to 9,000 of fantastic people. There's members matches you can book onto, with just about introducing you to the matches with no money or prizes we provide. There's no money put down apart from what you have to pay to fish, so there's no pressure on catching. If you want to go on Instagram at angling_for you and just look at the photos and see what we're doing, then join us on there. And if you could like, share and subscribe, that would be fantastic. Join the Angling For You family, and until the next time guys, thank you very much for watching. Tight lines.